I'm Will Graves from Winter Park, Florida. I'm a graduate instructor with Webster University, and I'd like to address two questions to Mr. Buffett. I appreciate the accessibility of Mr. Buffett. He makes us feel so warm here. Can I call you Dad?
Yeah.
I've got one question regarding a national treasury situation and one considering a national treasure. Back in September 11, you appeared on 60 Minutes and performed a national service, taking your valuable time and giving up your private life for a few moments by speaking about the general stock market and how people should not be getting too excited and they shouldn't be worried about investing for the long term. And what I was wondering is if you would ever consider making another appearance on 60 Minutes at the time when whoever the president is at the time brings up the Social Security debate. I spend a lot of time with nonprofit organizations, and the outrage that you hear from the working poor is that we talk about the tech turnaround, the tech profits of the last few years. They've gone through a whole cycle where people became multimillionaires at a time when the working poor never even got a minimum wage increase. And if you think of people like this who have a net worth of $1,000 or less, just as an example, and just imagine what it's like for them to be forced in the future to be horrible investors because the U.S. government forces them to have something called Social Security, which they can't get out of, and they get a lousy return. What I'm wondering is if you would consider, when we have a candidate, whoever it might be at the time, say that you don't want to put a small portion of Social Security into the long-term stock market because it's a risky proposition, if you would take your track record on 60 Minutes and say, I don't think so. That's the first question. And number two, while I'm asking you to volunteer for something, I found myself being thrust into something in the last 3 weeks. I went to Cypress Gardens the last day with about 20,000 people there, and a lady was handing out 15,000 flyers. Several weeks from now, I'll be before Governor Bush with the Friends of Cypress Gardens. We have a website, friendsofcypressgardens.org, trying to keep a developer from clear-cutting the trees in Cypress Gardens, a national treasure. And my question is, would you consider contacting your cousin, Jimmy Buffett, about possibly helping us in some way? Doesn't have to be money, it might be an appearance, just might be some connections, or you might be able to help us in our efforts.
I get asked to contact, probably the one I get asked to contact the most is Bill Gates, but I get asked to contact all kinds of people. I mean, everybody is slipping me envelopes with letters in them, sending things to the office and saying, won't you get this person? You know, all they can say is no. I don't make requests of my friends basically for anything. And I would spend the rest of my life doing it. They would feel, I would never know, what they were doing. I would never know what they were doing because I was asking versus what they really felt. I mean, it's an impossible, from my standpoint at least, that's an impossible game to get into in terms of, I mean, when Kay Graham was alive, everybody, wanted her for one reason or another, and they've all got causes, and frankly, they want to use me to get her or Jimmy Buffett or whomever to say yes to something that they're saying yes to partially because they feel they don't want to say no to me, and I just don't want to use my friendship for that purpose, frankly. And I don't do it even for things that I strongly believe in myself. I do them. They may know what I'm doing, and if they want to pick up on it, fine. I mean, but I have never. I can't remember ever requesting anybody to make a contribution or do anything myself. I mean, what I do is a matter of record, and if other people want to pick up on it, fine. But I've never had one of those honorary dinners where they send out to all the suppliers to Berkshire and everything and start leaning on them and saying we're honoring Warren. Well, hell, if they want to honor me, they can honor me without soliciting all my friends for money. I mean, I don't consider that much of an honor if the reason they picked me was because I got rich friends. So I just don't do that. On the public policy question, what I did on September 11th when Jack Welch and Bob Rubin and I went on there, I will do those things occasionally. I've written some op-ed pieces. I think, and I get tempted very often. In fact, I've written some that I haven't sent in. But I do think that there's something unattractive about a very rich guy that pops off on everything. And you may think by listening to us today that you've got two guys up here that do like to pop off on everything. But and we do have opinions on almost everything. But I just think there's some things I get, I wrote on campaign finance reform, and I've written on taxes, and I will do more of that. But I do try to hold myself in check somewhat, because there's a little bit of, this I'm rich therefore I'm right type stuff that I don't think sits very well. And I know when I see it in other people, I don't like it, that I'm a celebrity, therefore you got to listen to me on everything that I say. And it just it turns me off at some point. But like I say, I have done it, and there could be occasions, and there will be occasions, I'm sure, when I'll cross my threshold level and figure I really want to say something, and people can ignore it or otherwise. But I think there's some danger of overexposure on that sort of thing, and I think you've seen it with certain people. Charlie?
Warren, would you agree or disagree that forcing a certain part of Social Security into common stocks is a good idea?
No, I would not. I would not agree with the one that the gentleman suggested. I think that actually Social Security has been a tremendous thing for the working people of this country. It's been an intergenerational pact. It's not insurance. It simply says, like a family might say, except it extends the concept of family to the whole United States, that if you produce for this country when you're between the ages of, and I think the upper age limit should be extended, but between the ages of X and 65, the society will provide some base level of income for you for the rest of your life. And I think a rich society should do that. So I think that when you have a $10 trillion society, we should do that.
I would agree. I think Social Security, you can argue, it's one of the most successful governmental programs we have. And people treat it as a pure disaster coming or something like that. That's not my view at all, and I wouldn't put it in common stocks either. I think Social Security works pretty well just about the way we're doing it.
Yeah, we will give a base income to and we should in this country, to everybody that leads a reasonably productive life, and they don't have to worry about how long, whether they live to be 90 or 100. And people do worry in their old age, and we don't need a bunch of people who go off to war when we need to defend the rights of our country, and act in every way as good citizens, but they just don't happen to have the ability to make a lot of money, like maybe Charlie and I can. I think they need a base level, and I think that an intergenerational compact like we have it's really a magnificent idea, and I think the country's a lot better off for it. I think that telling them that they can say $500 or $1,000 and put it into stocks and have everybody lobbying Washington about who will handle it, everybody thought it was a great idea a few years ago, and I think it's a very bad idea, frankly. Charlie?
I like it a lot less than you do.